Hello, everyone. Welcome to Insight.
Hey, this is James Goll with God Encounters Ministries, where God Encounters are for everyone and God Encounters are especially for you. But this is our weekly broadcast called Insight for the days in which we live. And so, hey, Rachel, let's welcome the people. So where are you from?
Yeah, everyone, we would love to hear where you're from. Of course, every single week we get to hear countries from all over the entire world that are joining us on our YouTube premiere and on our Facebook premiere, which is it's just so fun to see where you guys are from. So type in the comments where you guys are from, your country, your state, province. Yeah, it's so fun. Dad, do you have a mug?
Oh, do I have a mug?
Have a mug?
We have a guest here with us today too, and he has a mug. So let's clink. Oh, we go. So what's your mug, Rachel?
Mine is a mug that my old pottery teacher made and gave to us.
Cool. What's yours, Justin?
I guess this old guy got it as a college graduation present. I don't know when. You tell me when.
Well, I just turned 68 this few days ago. So that means I was 21 when I was 21. Oh, I got that very mug. So that means that mug is 21 from 68. It's a 47. My gosh, that mug is 47 years old. And this mug is brand new because this is a birthday present to me. Okay, so cheers.
Did someone make it?
Yeah. Oh, I don't know. Somebody makes everything.
Sure.
Okay.
Well,
so
Grace Ann makes a lot of mugs sometimes.
Now the Thompsons, Jeffrey Brooke Thompson gave this to me for my birthday. Okay, so hey, last week we did a follow-up. We did Dusting Off Weariness, and this is all based out of, yes, Tell Your Heart to Sing Again, Discovering Hope for Your Life book. It's also out in an audio book as well. And then what did we do last week, Rachel?
Yeah, last week we had an episode on Shame Off.
Yeah, I think it really impacted a lot of people's lives too.
Yeah, it was so good. I love it.
If you haven't watched it yet, you can go back. If you haven't watched it yet, then you can go back and still watch it in replay anywhere in the world at any time you want. Because some of the comments I have read is like people breaking out weeping on just the prayer part of breaking shame off of people.
Yeah, that's so true.
Oh, yeah. Did we do our theme verse?
No, we didn't. I was just about to read it. Our theme verse comes from Daniel 12:3, which says, "Those who have insight will shine brightly like the expanse of heaven and lead the many to righteousness like the stars forever and ever." And really quickly, I just want to remind you guys that we have a Hope class that you can jump in on right now. You just go to jamesgall.com. There are 12 lessons that are wonderful, and there are 3 live Q&A sessions that you guys can be involved in as well. Is there anything else you'd like to add to that, Dad?
No, it's great. So this is the material that helped me, obviously, in writing the Tell Your Heart to Sing Again, Discovering Hope for Your Life book. And so, yeah, so go to jamesgall.com. We have different banners at the top. Just touch on that. It'll take you to the landing page for more information or to register. Love for you to be a part of it, okay?
Yeah, well, today we have the very special honor of having the incredible, the one, the only Justin Gall. He is my oldest brother, and he is in town from LA with his beautiful family. And Justin, we just want to welcome you. Thank you for joining us on Insight today.
For having me, sister.
Of course. All right, Dad.
This is moving into today's session for Insight. Today we just decided to, I would call it a one-off, and this is called To Create, and where excellence and integrity really do matter. And I picked a theme verse again that comes from the book of Daniel in the, actually, this says the 9th verse. I don't think that's correct, but anyway, it's in the book of Daniel. I think it's maybe the 1st or the 2nd chapter, but verse 4, where it says, "Youths in which there was no defect." It says that they were good looking. I really like that part a lot. And then it also says, I love this verse. It says, showing intelligence in every branch of wisdom, endowed with understanding and discerning knowledge, and who had the ability, this is all amazing to me, to serve in the king's court. And he ordered them to teach them the literature and the language of the Chaldeans. Let me give you a little background on this. This is the prophet Daniel in exile. He's not attending Hebrew University, okay, in Jerusalem. He's in Babylon. He's serving under Nebuchadnezzar or Belshazzar. He's sitting under an evil ruler. And he goes to the school of the Chaldeans, and he learns in the world the best of literature, and in every branch, it says, of literature. And it says, and he grew in wisdom. One translation says this. And after all these studies, it says that God gave him divine intelligence. This is what we need in this day. We need people who live godly lives, who know boundaries, but who also are brave and are strong, who are in the world to impact and to release the fragrance of Christ, however you would like to say it, to be a light. And the thing I love about this, it says that he was, Daniel and those who walked with him, that he was wise. It says that he was good looking. I think that's amazing. And so I think that he was fit. It also gives reference about how he knew nutrition and he knew how to eat well. And so, but he was brilliant in character and in knowledge, and another commodity, God gave him divine intelligence. So I want you to know out there today, that is what I'm shooting for. I'm shooting that the Lord will raise up in this generation the Daniels and the Josephs, the Deborahs, the Esthers, for such a time as this. And so this is my oldest son, Justin, and he lives in the LA area and has for several years. Met his wife there. They have 4 awesome children now. And Justin works in the film industry and in many different facets. And I believe that Justin is a man of integrity. He works with excellence, but he also studies. A lot of people today in the gifts of the Spirit, they just kind of like slide and they just kind of like, get in the flow, but they don't study to show themselves approved, a workman unto God. And I want to boast that my oldest son is a student of the Word. He really aims for a character in the heart of God, and yet is called to be a light in what could be considered a difficult occupation. Okay, so this is Justin Gall. So, hey, Justin, why don't you just give a greeting, tell the people a little bit about your background, how did you get into this whole thing anyway?
Sure. Well, he already introduced me and my wife, Danielle. We've got 4 kids now, ages 7, 5, 3, and 0. So we're got a lot going on at home, as well as then I've been working in the specifically TV industry since 2007. I went to a trade school focusing on editing. And but it all kind of started out of my passion for film that developed when I was very young. I just remember loving Singing in the Rain. Different
Muppets Go Manhattan or something like that.
Yeah, it was The Great Muppet Caper was the one I watched over and over and over again. and like Beauty and the Beast and Fiddler on the Roof. I think as a kid I really liked the musicals, and then it just kind of blew up to the point where when I was in high school, I was driving to Green Hills, which is was 45 minutes away. I would drive every weekend and like go see 2 different art house films. So I'd like schedule my day so I could see like, you know, Gangs of New York at like 2:00, and then like I would go get something to eat, like super cheap because I was a poor student, you know, so I'd have like an hour between movies, and then I would go see like, you know, Frida with Salma Hayek or whatever. So like I was just eating it up. I was just like super interested in foreign films, you know, anything in the art house circuit. And so I did that for like a number of years and worked my way through most of the AFI 100 greatest films of all time list. And
you mean you worked through the list? You mean when you're saying that? Oh, you watched them?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. I haven't seen everyone yet. There's still a couple that are stragglers, because then there's all these great movies that aren't on the list, you know, that people recommend. And so yeah, I feel like that I had a lot of like transformative kind of experiences in the movies that were like good growing experiences for me as a person. And so it really just showed me how the theater, it can be this experience that takes you outside of yourself, outside of your limited experience, and like exposes you or even makes you imagine like how you would be in a different time, in a different place, with different problems facing you. Yeah, I mean, one of my favorite movies to this day, like hands down, is Shadowlands with Anthony Hopkins. It's like definitely like in top 5, and like Deborah Winger as Joyce, his wife, and just like the kind of the depth, like you can synthesize like incredibly profound ideas into little photo, you know, images or words, and it's like an, you know, the tip of an iceberg. But like in that film about C.S. Lewis, when he talks about the boy chooses safety, the man chooses suffering.
Wow.
It's like profound. It's so profound.
That is profound.
And I'm coming across people who you know, are at an impasse in their lives, in a place of great difficulty, or where they feel like that they are lacking direction or identity or whatever. A lot of times I find it easier to talk about a movie with them as a way to like try and help them, because so people find it easier to see themselves in a movie, I think, nowadays, than like for you to try and like, you know, do counseling or any of this kind of stuff. And so like just to really bring down even like what I was just saying from that C.S. Lewis film, I've brought up that movie to different people and like asked them what they think about it, and it's like it stops people, you know. So anyway, all that to say, you can really like, I would just hope that I can be part of stuff that people don't veg out to, where it causes people to stop in their tracks and think about who they are and what they're really living for. You know, what is life really about? So that's what I'm excited about, working in film and TV.
So just to help some of the audience out there, Justin is a very deep thinker.
So deep.
You are. You're very layered. I am as well. I think on like 3 or 4 different levels kind of at the same time. I'm always about connecting, but Justin is a constant reader. And in growing up, it was attention because he loved movies. And at a certain age, I don't know, by age of 14 or something, you had done critiques on over 300 movies that you had written up about cinematography, the screenplay, the actors, the music, and everything, right?
Sure, yeah. I mean, I would read Roger Ebert religiously, and James Berardinelli, and other Peter Travers of Rolling Stone, and other film critics, Pauline Kael. And I was just like fascinated that they had like such strong points of view.
But you would actually watch these movies, and at that young age, I think it was 14, you had written up over 300 critiques.
Yeah, and some of them were like just a paragraph, like who's the guy who does the little paragraph reviews? Leonard Maltin, I want to say. I would do like that kind of style. And then some I would do like a full like page or two or whatever.
And so one of the things that we would do,
to look back at some of those.
So some of the things that we would do in growing up is that we would go to movies together. Now, the problem was I would go what he called to veg out, and he would go to study.
Yeah.
And then we would end up in intense debates because our vantage points weren't the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it did help because eventually
going to the movies together overall was like, even though like, I mean, we had some knockout, drag out fights, but like overall it was like a really good thing because we had like this shared experience.
Yeah.
So even if we didn't agree about it, like it was good. We built movie by movie to being able to talk about it. And then you ended up getting way more into movies. Like
than you are.
I was like super surprised, honestly, because then he and Dad got invited to be part of different judging panels on movies, and people are like asking his opinion on films at film festivals.
Yeah.
So,
and I've been in a couple of small roles in a couple of little movies. Okay, so Justin. So hey, Rachel, do you have anything you want to toss in? What before we get going on what he's working on today?
I just love you guys.
Hey, welcome to our family.
Yeah, right?
Our family is so diverse, intense, passionate, and freaking good looking. Okay.
Well, we do have a model in the family, right?
Yeah.
But Pearl models too, right?
Yeah, she's done them too.
We got 2 models.
I thought I was a model. Oh well. I think okay. So hey, so Justin, tell us some about some of the work you've been doing.
Sure. So I kind of divide up my time between doing more documentary work, and I've done some reality, and then I've done a lot of true crime. But the show that I've done recently that people would have actually seen probably most likely is Surviving R. Kelly. And that came out in 2019, and I was involved in making that in 2018.
And that's a 6-part documentary.
Yeah, about really the rise to fame and fortune of the #1 selling R&B artist of the last 25 years, Robert Kelly. And then, and I'm sure that everybody knows this, but it follows not just the story he tells with his life, but the story of all of these women who, since his early days of success, like for 3 decades, accused him of sexual assault, harassment, and battery, and lots of other crimes, including one woman who claimed that he was involved in putting a hit out on her to end her life. So that was just like an insane project to work on. It was so gratifying and was one of the highest quality productions I've ever been involved in. So I can't say enough good things about the team of people that I got to work with on that. It was truly amazing to work on something that was so impactful.
It's impacting society.
Yeah, it's sort of like been, I mean, I don't know. It's been not to the same level of the Harvey Weinstein exposure of all of the wrongdoing that happened there with the casting couch and all this kind of like shady nonsense. But it's been awesome. I mean, he's been accused so many times and he's always gotten away with it. And so I think that we were all really surprised. We were just like, no, it's not going to happen. Like, there's too much money tied up in this guy. He's too profitable. But then his label finally dropped him. And not only that, then he ended up getting arrested on by the Department of Homeland Security, like, so a federal agency, on trafficking charges taking girls across state lines. So I think he's in jail now awaiting trial. So we'll see. I mean, I honestly hope he gets a fair trial. So I don't want him to be convicted of anything, that he didn't actually do. But I would say what really struck me was how each one of the women, their stories were so similar. This guy clearly had a pattern to me. That was my point of view on it, to where I found their stories very credible.
Yep.
So
it's the documentary has been nominated for an Emmy, and then you, as a part of the editors group, was nominated for what award?
So yeah, we all got. Buna Murray Productions was very gracious in submitting all of the editorial team, our names, to the Peabody Committee, and so when the show won the Peabody Award, we were all part of that win. And then me and 5 other editors, we got nominated for an American Cinema Editors Award together. And that was so cool because we were really in the trenches together, us editors, on that. And then to get to go with them to this like fun event just celebrate, together, was really awesome.
So Justin, you have mentioned to me about, and I just heard you say the word gratifying when you were describing the show. For you to work on it was gratifying because justice was a part of the show. You were able to tell a story of justice. So can you tell us a little bit about your desire in storytelling for justice?
Sure. I just think it's interesting. I feel like from my point of view, like I'm just like a small little, part of God's plan. And I think that God uses so many different people to bring down evil, schemes and plots. And so I think that he uses believers and people of other faiths and like non-believers, and he doesn't care. He uses us together in this, this way that I never would have guessed. I think growing up in the church, we have ideas about how justice is gonna come for the poor, for the needy, for the orphan, for the widow, and we think it looks a certain way with maybe a church program or something, and oftentimes that does happen. Certainly there are amazing Christian organizations on the front lines of really addressing the neediest people, but it's really just cool to see how he uses this little production. We had no idea. We were not guaranteed ratings or that anyone would notice us, and so I just feel like it was God's sovereign decision that this must end. This abuse must end.
Yep. So it's exposing sexual harassment, sexual predators, things of this nature. And this is a part of, often in the prophetic language, we would refer to this as a justice generation. And we are not going to bring justice by only the church mountain. It is all 7 cultural mountains. Now, I'm going to say in Justin's behalf, he is a part of the local church. He has been all of his life. So it isn't that he's a renegade out there just kind of trying to make a difference on his own. No, he and his family are a part of committed believers in a local church that make a difference and then live out the gospel.
For sure.
And you have as well in the past. You lived in a very difficult part of LA as well as a part of your life message.
Yeah. I mean, so that was a really rich time in my life, actually. And I don't know, everything can be a trap, I guess. Living in too comfortable an area, you can get to where your possessions basically own you and you're consumed by all of the time it takes to take care of those things. And that can orient how you live your life. You become a caretaker of things. And so yeah, in some ways I wouldn't say it was difficult, because in some way, I mean, we live in a nice neighborhood now. And we moved really just so that we just needed the kids to be able to walk down the street with a little less, like, you know, I don't know, we just needed to check out a little bit. Danielle and I needed a little bit more rest. So, but
you've lived
there's
a lifestyle.
there's another vigilance. There's another vigilance that's required, I think, in like more of a, you know, wealthier area. But down there, it was cool because like there's a lot of like, I just remember across the street when we lived there, every like something like twice a week, there was this group of Latino moms who would get together and they would do a Marian devotion group, and they would sing these beautiful Spanish hymns. And it was like an aroma, like it would, the sound of it would drift across the street, and we'd hear it. The same women, you know, once or twice a week for 7 years. So yeah, it was in some ways just a really rich and beautiful season there. And then there were other things. I mean, we were trying to do like after school tutoring for kids that were, you know, not citizens, or they probably couldn't even tell you how they got to the United States, or a lot of people whose parents were working multiple jobs. So there's, you know, just for economic reasons, there's a lot of absenteeism. And so we're doing tutoring with these kids, and then boxing lessons for the boys. And that there were real challenges in that, you know, but there were also, I mean, real rewards personally that were kind of indescribable, just getting to walk alongside people and sharing their story for a season. Sorry, it's probably a long answer to a short question.
No, it's great, because it's about a lifestyle. You see, Daniel, again, going back to that example, he lived in Babylon, and yet he walked in moral character, and he walked as a student of excellence, and he just was a shining light. And I just really want to say that that's who Justin has been at his core all of his adult life, whether living in Boyle Heights in LA with Restore LA, or in the film industry, in the church community, in the prophetic community, going to the call school, going to the Burbank, you know, to the editing school.
Sure.
You've always, I mean, we all fall short of the glory of God. Okay, all right, okay, done deal, all right. But how awesome it is for people to not want to just stay in an uncomfortable comfort zone and be salt and light. So tell us about, like, you also have worked for David Oyelowo.
Oh, this is really brief, so I don't want to make it out like I'm super tight with them or whatever, but no, I mean, they're friends of ours, and
Wait, they might not know who that is.
So he played Martin Luther King Jr. in the film Selma, and then so it's just been fun recently to get into more documentary projects, and I was just a small assist role editing that with my friend Sam Sullivan in, gosh, was that 2018 as well. And I've gotten to do some other documentary stuff, like again, Sam and I did a show about people who survived sex trafficking in the state of South Dakota. And that one, so it's people who are actually going through counseling, rehabilitation after having been trafficked. And so that was super interesting, because we talked about people being trafficked off of the Indian reservations, and then people who are trafficked through the Sturgis motorcycle rally. And then actually there's a fair amount of trafficking through the Canadian-US border, just, you know, right close to South Dakota there. Because it's, you know, it's a pretty, I mean, it's not like an insecure border per se, but it's just so vast that it's really easy to bring people in and out through that border. But that project was made for the South Dakota public school system.
Wow.
So these videos were going to be shown in the public schools there, just to educate kids on what trafficking looks like in their area. Because I think South Dakota was at the time, in one of the worst, it was considered one of the worst states for human trafficking, even though it's such a small population state. So that was really cool to be like a part of something that was like, I hope strategic, you know. And then we had this guy from, I think he worked for the Department of Homeland Security, interview with that. And so we tried to make it as excellent and factual as possible. So
yeah. So Rachel, do you have any interaction or anything you want to toss in here?
Yeah, I've just been thinking about how, first of all, the title of this episode is called Call to Create. And Justin, I love so much how you have, first of all, we're all called to create because
Sure.
we're made in the image of God and he created the world. So every time we operate in that, we're reflecting the image of God. And so you, with having your desire and your heart for the film industry, you have brought excellence, and you've brought a lot of integrity into the film industry. But it comes from that place of knowing whose you are. You're the Lord's. You know, and what authority you have because you have the Lord inside you. And so I've heard you talk about kind of like storyline.
Sure.
And how you know where I'm going. So I kind of want you to tell a little bit about that, how we as believers kind of have a little one up on storytelling in a sense. Can you tell us your perspective on it? Because I love it so much.
Totally. I mean, I think that so I do a lot of true crime shows, and in some ways, like, they're some of the easiest ways to talk about redemption because the stakes are so real and the crime is real. And so it doesn't matter who you are, the viewer will have a deep hunger for justice to be done. And so for whatever reason, I find that is the easiest place to where the narrative of Christ, of creation, fall, and resurrection comes to my aid the most, because it really is like such a dynamic
rise
arc.
and fall.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, I'm like there's been so many people who've talked about this over the decades and so on, but it bears repeating. So if you're really immersed, I would say to believers out there, if you're really immersed in the Bible, and if you're really immersed in the narrative, and if you see your own life, if you see in your life the narrative of Christ, and you see your life in the narrative of Christ, then you will make a good storyteller. And you won't be a boring storyteller. It won't be flat. If you watch how Christ's life had all these highs and lows, and it's not try reading the Gospel of Mark. It is not a boring story. It is action-packed. There are incredible reversals of fortune. And so so that's something when I think watch any movie and you'll see about 2/3 to 3/4 of the way through the film, there'll be some sort of death, some sort of moment where either it seems like the protagonist has died, like it appears that they've died, or all is lost, something like that. And especially for us in the West, like even those of us who wouldn't consider ourselves like followers of Christ, we're so our perspective on life has been so shaped by the Christian worldview that we come to see this as normal, that there's a great struggle, there's a terrifying defeat, and then when you accept like that you cannot do it in your own strength, then there is a powerful resurrection. You go into the third act of the movie. Wow. There's victory. Wow. And everyone in the movie theater goes home happy. Wow. So yeah, I would just say, like, as followers of Christ, we should have the most dynamic stories. And I think a lot of people in the industry, like I think are believers, and they're just, they're just working quietly. They're not like trying to make a big to-do about their faith. So I do think that already, like, we have like some incredible, I'm thinking of the Pixar animation director Pete Docter, for instance, who I know is a Christian, and he did what's that one about all the emotions? It's like anger and disgust, and you know what I'm talking about, that film?
Yeah.
Uh,
Remember what it's called right
I want to say he did Up also, but there's already incredible people who are like, they know how to use their Christian background. They have like, just, they're locked in on that. I mean, it is in a certain way, it's a formula, but like the many different ways that the, creation, fall, redemption, paradigm, the many different ways that you can fold that into your story, it's going to make for a dynamic and interesting viewing for sure.
That's awesome. So, hey, Justin, so there's a lot of people who they might be afraid to like venture out into areas that you have. And maybe they're not supposed to, but there's some out there I know that you are. And I know as a parent how much tension it was for Michael Ann and I to empower Justin to go after these dreams. And the Lord had to convince, and I remember at the call in Washington, D.C., I repented to I asked Justin to forgive me and empowered him to chase his dreams, and that I wasn't going to determine what those were, which I wanted to, but that I would empower him to choose and to believe that he would choose well. And he has chosen well. And I want to encourage those out there who are parents or have some level of authority in someone's life, believe in the person and believe in their dream and be a cheerleader and set good boundaries. Okay? Boundaries matter, right, Justin?
Yeah, absolutely.
Excellence and integrity really do matter. And I personally believe in the arts, entertainment, and media that all the more integrity and excellence really do matter. Hey, Justin, could you like just pray for the audience and just ask God to strengthen them and give them grace, or maybe stir up gifts of creativity in them?
Yeah, absolutely. And I also just want to pray as a parent for parents out there who are trying to figure out what kind of media to let into their kids' lives and all that kind of stuff too. So Heavenly Father, just thank you that you are the Father of lights, that you are an amazing creator, and that you're the original storyteller, God. And I ask, God, that you would allow us to participate in storytelling at a deeper, fuller level, God, that our stories would be rich, they would be complex, God, that they would cause people to stop, to ponder, to wonder, to ask questions, and to discover, Lord. And I pray for for courage for people who this is like maybe outside of their wheelhouse of how they grew up or what kind of community they live in. But I ask, God, that you would embolden people to take that first step into, questioning, should I become some sort of storyteller? Should I become some sort of creator? Just like my Father in heaven is a creator. And God, I do ask too, like, that you would give clarity to parents out there. I just remember all of the different times where my dad was not sure if he should take me to this movie or that movie. And God, I ask you would equip parents to go into the storytelling fray with their kids, and to ask the questions with their kids. And so many times there's like a generational divide, even with technology and media. And I pray for unity, God, that that parents wouldn't be afraid to go in, and whatever it is, we've got even virtual reality coming down the pike and greater exposure. But I pray, Lord, that more and more parents and kids would like they get to like learn and discover through the arts together. In your name, I pray, Lord.
Amen. Hey, something that comes to me is that there could be some of you watching, and you see my youngest daughter, Rachel, my oldest son, Justin, with me, and you could be going like, oh, golly, oh, golly, that was interesting. Our name was Gall. Anyway, I wish that I could have that opportunity. I wish that I could have grown up in a culture that would have at least not resisted me or not cursed me or not say shame on you like we talked about last week. But I want you to know, I want you to really know something. You can start it right now in your generations, and you can be the first one in your family tree. It starts somewhere. And so you can be a new Daniel. You can be a new Esther. You can be a new Deborah. You could be a new Joseph. You could be a new you in Christ Jesus. Just make sure your identity is rooted in the Word of God and is rooted in Christ. And then I've got this simple phrase I want to give you right now. Dream big. Dream big. I've tried to help my kids dream big. And I want you to dream big because we've got a great Father in heaven, and he has a big dream that includes you making a difference for such a time as this. Hey, Justin, we could go on. We could do an entire series. I've actually been pondering on this about like sometime doing a series on, Christ in crisis, but also Christ in, arts, entertainment, and media. And so anyway, so thanks, Justin, for partnering with Rachel and I in our viewing audience today. And so, Rachel, do you have any closing things you'd like to share?
Yeah, I just wanted to share really quickly that if you have a heart for the entertainment industry, that's an area that I have also walked in on the talent side. And whether you're on behind the camera, in front of the camera, you can walk with conviction. If you have a conviction from the Holy Spirit and they want you to do a certain thing, or this is how the story goes, you can intercede for favor, and the storyline can change. Right. Justin and I talked about this the other day. He's seen it happen. I've seen it happen. And we could do a whole episode on just that. But I wanted to encourage you all that if you're going into something and it doesn't sit well with you, intercede and watch God move on your behalf.
Awesome.
And so also just thank you, Justin, so much for being with us. And I wanted to remind you guys about our Discovering Hope for Your Life class, which is available right now. You can go to jamesgall.com, and there's a little slider at the top of the screen that you click on, and it is a 12-lesson class on discovering hope. So go there and you will find that. And Dad, is there anything else?
Yeah, and so I've had a series of dreams about a week ago that dealt with rural America in particular. But it's tied into urban, to cities, and then how God has a dream in his heart to restore and save America. And I'm going to go into some of that. It's a dream. So I'm going to cast a God dream next week on there is hope solutions to save this nation in Jesus' name.
I'm excited. I can't wait to hear it all.
What a teaser.
Yeah.
Teaser. Woo. Well, I just wanted to encourage you guys that if this has blessed you, we would love to have you partner with us financially. You can give, of course, through our website, which is the preferred way, but you can also give through the donation link on Facebook attached to this video, or you can do text to give if you live in America.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for being with us today. I want you to know the closing song we're going out with today is a lullaby that I made up as a prophetic song, originally for Justin. I like to dream about butterflies. I like to dream about stars in the sky. And I like to dream about you. And I like to dream about you. So we're going to go out with that song. And then I adapted it, putting in all four of my kids' names. And I think this is totally appropriate because God has a dream and he's inviting you to be a part of his dream stream and just tie in to the God of a big dream. In Jesus' name, this is James Goll, and this is
Rachel Tucker, and we have the honored guest of having Justin Gall with us today. Thank you guys so much for joining us.
We'll see you next week.
I like to dream about butterflies. I like to dream about stars in the sky. And I like to dream about you. And I like to dream about you. Last night when I was sleeping in my bed, I had a dream, and God told me that I'd have a son named Justin, that I'd have a daughter named Grace Ann, that I'd have a son named Tyler, that I'd have a daughter named Rachel. I've had a dream, and my dream has come true. Now you can have a dream, and your dream can come true too. I like to dream about butterflies. I like to dream about stars in the sky. And I like to dream about you. I like to dream about you. And I like to dream about you. Bumpity bump.